The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time has to be one of the greatest games ever made. If you're a fan of this game, odds are you've played it more times than you can count. Honestly, you could probably even do it blindfolded. That's what makes randomizers so special. It brings a brand new experience to a game we have fallen in love with since the late 90s. Honestly, most single-player adventure-type games I play get compared to Ocarina of Time on a scale of how good they are. If you weren't around back then you honestly can't even imagine the weight that this game had for us, because there was nothing like it. There was no game that had this free, open-world feeling that we all know and love today, and honestly expect from most games. Back then, this was the game. Back in the day, video games were very silly, lighthearted, and whimsical. They weren't really taken seriously by pop culture and were just written off as something for kids to do. The story of Ocarina of Time took us all on a roller coaster of emotions, and that's why a lot of us are still in love with this game to this day. But as I said, it's been out for over 20 years. We've played this game every which way, up and down, left and right, 100% completion. We've done just about everything you can do with this. So what's the next step? Well, I'm happy to say a new life has been brought into this game with no logic randomizers. What is a no logic randomizer? Well, there are two different types of randomizers, logic and no logic. The thing about logic randomizers is even though the items are randomized, there is still a set path that sets you up for victory. A no logic randomizer, however, everything is random and there are no rules. There could be items placed in places that are just impossible to get to. But how impossible can impossible really be? Today we're gonna find out. You see, a lot of people are intimidated by no logic randomizers because they need to learn glitches in order to succeed. And the thing is, there's not a lot of good representation of these glitches. A lot of the glitch tutorials come with the assumption that you already know how to do some basic glitches that set you up to do the bigger glitches to get through certain areas. And I don't think that's fair. I think the Ocarina of Time community is dwindling by a huge margin because of the lack of representation on how to do some of these glitches. It's almost made to be impossible. It feels like there's a secret club that we're just not a part of, and if you're not a part of it, then you don't deserve to know the answers. Well, I'm gonna help you guys. You see, this video is not designed for experienced Ocarina of Time players. I'm making this video for the people that want to just dip their toes into the water of no logic randomizers, but are frankly just too intimidated to do so. This video is gonna be a little different. It's not gonna be the typical glitch tutorials that you guys usually see me do. What my intention is with this video is to show off some of the basic strats in Ocarina of Time that make a lot of the glitches you see possible. A lot of people who comment on my videos will often say, how do people even come up with these glitches? They're not really coming up with glitches so much as they're using techniques that have already been well established. What I mean is a lot of these mind-blowing glitches are actually done with basic techniques just used in various applications. This video is going to show you how to use all of these basic strats to set up a lot of the glitches that we know and love. As I said, the goal here isn't necessarily to teach you any one type of glitch, it's to help you have an understanding of what we actually do in this game to accomplish certain glitches. We're gonna go over things like ISG, ledge clips, what those weird numbers mean in a lot of those tutorial videos that you see on YouTube. You see, I love this game, and I know there's a lot of people who love this game as well, but they just don't know how to get started with a no logic randomizer. And it's my hope to share this information with you so I can make you a pro at Zelda Ocarina of Time no logic randomizers. Let's get started. Okay, so first let's talk about how to get the infinite sword glitch, or more commonly referred to as ISG. So in order to get ISG, you need to interrupt a crouch stab with some sort of text box. The two most common ways to get ISG would be through a sign or a bomb. However, there are so many other ways to get ISG, and we'll get into that. So what is ISG? The infinite sword glitch causes Link's sword to swing indefinitely. Check it out while I'm beating on this rock here, 1,000,000 times a minute. It's like a chainsaw at this point. However, ISG also has a few other interesting properties. One being that you can't fall off of ledges, and this is what makes ISG so powerful. A lot of people might think it's just to one-cycle bosses, but the thing you're going to use most with ISG is abusing this mechanic with the ledges. So as you can see here, I'm standing right next to this sign and I crouch stab and immediately tap A. You'll know you've activated ISG because there'll be a white beam emitting from Link's sword, and the camera will be stuck in its Z target position, but Link can walk around freely. Now it's very important to note, if you swing your sword, you will lose ISG. If you use your shield without Z targeting, you will lose your ISG. However, you can put your sword away, and if for some reason you want to take your sword back out, you could just do a backflip and then take your sword out, and you will continue to have ISG activated. I recommend practicing on signs to activate ISG because it's the easiest and most controlled environment. However, more commonly than not, you're going to activate ISG with bombs, as you'll almost always have a bomb in your inventory. The concept is still the same though, so you'll notice that the A button says grab when you're close enough to pick up the bomb, and this is one of 2 exceptions when it comes to activating ISG through text boxes. So I guess it's more accurate to say that it's interrupting a crouch stab with the A button, which is normally deactivated when Link swings a sword. However, for a brief second after a crouch stab, the A button becomes active, but you need to actually have an action present, such as reading a sign or picking up a bomb. With bombs, we're going to shield drop the bomb, crouch stab into the bomb, and tap the A button the second we're able to. This one's a little tricky to get the timing right. You don't want to be exactly right in front of the bomb. You want to take like 1 step back. Once you crouch stab the bomb, you're going to tap A, and once Link picks it up, you're going to need to throw the bomb, because the other way to lose ISG is through knockback damage. Not regular damage, but anything that causes Link to flinch or actually get knocked all the way back. Now the next form of ISG is a little more tricky, the Navi ISG. So remember how I said you can interrupt a crouch stab with a text box? Well, Navi counts as a text box. So, if we crouch stab and activate Navi on the very first frame the sword starts retracting backwards, we can activate ISG. As I said, this one's a little bit more tricky and you only get 1 shot at it, as if you activate Navi and don't get ISG, you can't activate Navi again, right? But with a little practice, you can actually nail this pretty consistently. I find pressing C up twice in a row really fast helps me land it, where I'll crouch stab and hit C up twice really quickly and I tend to get it. And then finally, the coup de grace of ISG, enemy ISG. This is probably the most complicated way to get ISG, but one of the most common ways to activate ISG, because other than bombs, the most common thing you're going to run into is enemies. This is basically the same process as Navi ISG, with 1 extra step. Once you crouch stab, you're going to target an enemy and then press C up, because every time you target an enemy, Navi's little bubble will show up to tell you what kind of enemy you're fighting. This can be used to activate ISG. As I said though, this is a little more tricky because you need to be close enough to the enemy that you'll be able to target it, however not close enough that you'll hit it with your sword. And you still need to get your C up timing to be on point so you activate ISG. However, unlike Navi ISG, you can try this as many times as you'd like until you actually nail it. So if you're new to randomizers, you're probably like, Nick, that's awesome, but why would I ever need to do this? Well, as I said, ISG prevents you from falling off of ledges, correct? The funny thing about explosions in Ocarina of Time is if you block them with a shield, the game treats it like you are on a surface. But then the explosion disappears, and as I said, Link can't fall off of ledges. So, if you were to shield drop a bomb right as it explodes and backflip, you will then be elevated into the air and continue floating. We call this bomb hovering. The term shield drop refers to when you have something like a bomb, a Bombchu, a chicken, a rock, anything like that in Link's hand. If you press the shield button, Link will drop the item. So, if you shield drop and then immediately backflip, Link will be in the air and his shield will be pointed at the floor. So with a bomb, if you shield drop and backflip right as the bomb explodes, the shield will block at the top of the explosion, not right on the side of it, making the game think that Link is on top of a ledge. And then, when the explosion disappears, Link will be floating in the air. However, there's one caveat to this. One bomb explosion is not enough to convince the game that Link is on a ledge. So in order to initiate a bomb hover, you actually need to have 2 bomb explosions exploding about 1 second apart from each other. So you shield drop a bomb, side hop, shield drop another bomb, and then you're gonna hold shield, backflip right as the first bomb explodes, and then immediately hold shield and backflip right as the second bomb explodes. Then you'll have enough height to convince the game that Link is on a ledge and will be floating. Now, once we're hovering in the air, we can abuse the bombs to hover as high as we can possibly go until we run out of bombs. This is easier said than done because, as I said, you need to shield drop the bomb right before it explodes. If you do it too early, once you hit the backflip, you're not going to be on the invisible ledge anymore and you're going to fall straight down to the floor. The way I time it is once I'm already hovering in the air and take out a bomb, you'll see Link start rocking back and forth. He'll go forwards, backwards, forwards, and then backwards. So you want to time it between each rock. Forward 1, backwards 2, forward 3, and then right before he goes backwards again, like give him 1 frame to move, shield drop and backflip, and the bomb should explode exactly where you need it to. Since the camera is so zoomed in, I use the bottom of his shield as an indicator. When he goes forward, the bottom of the shield clips into his back a little bit, and then when he goes backwards, you can see the shield in its entirety again. So as I said, forward, backwards, forward, give him 1 little beat of moving backwards, and then shield drop backflip and we'll be higher up. This can be used to reach all sorts of areas that we're not supposed to reach, either as young Link or because we don't have the item that we need to get to this area. Let's put this technique into practice. Over here at Lon Lon Ranch, did you know we can skip the Epona race? I'm gonna get ISG with a bomb, head over to the wall that we normally need Epona to jump over so we can escape, and then we're gonna initiate a bomb hover. Once again, we're gonna shield drop a bomb, side hop, shield drop a second bomb, and this will set us up to start bomb hovering. It looks like this. However, I prefer to do it with Link's back to the wall and then walk forward after shield dropping the second bomb. It just helps me time the explosions easier. Then we're gonna hold shield, backflip, hold shield, and backflip again. If done right, we're gonna be hovering. Then all we have to do is do 1 more backflip and we'll make it right over the wall, and look at that. We have Epona without doing the race. Honestly, we have it without even learning Epona song in the first place. Now, explosions aren't the only way to trick the game into thinking Link is on a surface that isn't there. It's just the most common. Check this out. There's a way to skip the mini-boss inside of Jabu. Once we get enemy ISG off of the berry in the first room, we can position ourselves with our back to the corner facing this door that leads to the boss room. Now, the tricky part here is to Z-target without targeting the berry. We can use the berry to damage abuse all the way to the top and take the elevator down so we can skip the mini-boss. What we do is we hold shield, and the berry's just close enough to make contact with the Deku shield but not Link himself. We're gonna mash backflips. The interesting thing about berries is once their hitbox is touched, they start rising into the air. So, if we start mashing backflip, the berry's rising into the air, but so is Link because of ISG. So once we make contact with the berry, it's going to be rising into the air. But so is Link because of the ISG. The game thinks we're on a ledge, and with ISG, we can't fall off of ledges. So as long as we keep mashing backflips until we reach the very top floor, we'll keep rising into the air. And it turns out the only purpose of the Octo mini-boss is to lower the elevator down so we can grab one of those crates and open the room that leads to the boss door. So, we've talked about bomb hovering. Now we're going to talk about Bombchu hovering. Now I'll be honest with you, this strat is a little more tedious in Ocarina of Time. It's a breeze in Majora's Mask because the explosion radius of Bombchus is bigger. However, in Ocarina of Time, it's a little smaller, which makes this glitch a little more difficult to pull off. However, it is a very valuable thing that can help us bypass a lot of areas in randomizers if we don't have the item, song, etc. that we need to get in. So there is a way to do it without hover boots, but I strongly recommend practicing with hover boots first. So, as I said, ISG prevents you from walking off of ledges. And the thing about hover boots is they slow Link's momentum when doing things like side hops or backflips. This will allow us to make contact with the Bombchu's explosion radius and will allow us to bomb hover off of ledges without initiating the shield drop method beforehand. So what we're going to do is face Link's back to the ledge we're trying to hover off of and start back walking. As I said, with ISG, you're not going to fall off the ledge, so you can just continuously backwalk. We're going to backflip, take out a chew, and press and hold shield as fast as we possibly can. Not all three at the same time. It's a 1, 2, 3 button press, not all three at the same time. So the backflip causes Link's shield to be pointed at the floor. Taking out the chew puts it in his hands, and when you press and hold shield, the Bombchu makes contact with your shield and explodes. Once the explosion makes contact with your shield, it makes the game think Link is on a ledge momentarily, but since we have ISG, we're floating. We can use this to cross very large gaps that we otherwise would not be able to reach. For example, the broken bridge at Gerudo Valley. So we don't need hover boots to do Bombchu hovers, it's just incredibly easier with them. However, if you don't, this can still be done. All you need is an item that can shoot, the slingshot, the bow, or the hookshot. So the thing about shooting items in Ocarina of Time, if you Z-target while using them, you can make Link look straight up into the air or straight down to the floor while still having the weapon locked and loaded, ready to fire. So with this method of Bombchu hovering, we're going to activate ISG, position Link's back to a ledge, take out the shooting item. In this case, I'm going to use the slingshot. We're going to press and hold Z, look straight up into the sky, prime the slingshot, and then we're gonna backflip, fire the slingshot, and then shield drop a Bombchu. So what happens here is when your weapon shoots, you're positioned in such a way that it connects with the Bombchu, and the explosion radius is now close enough to Link that the shield can connect with it. So once again, you position Link's back to a wall, you Z-target, prime your slingshot, look straight up into the sky, backflip, fire your weapon, shield drop a Bombchu. If done right, you'll have shot the Bombchu, and once it explodes, your shield should make contact with the explosion and you will initiate the Bombchu hover. As I said, this is a little more difficult than the hover boot method, but still very useful and can be used in so many applications for randomizers. So another thing about ISG is it can actually allow you to clip through certain areas in the game. For example, did you know you can clip through the boss door in the water temple? So, if we shield drop a bomb, side hop, shield drop a second bomb, initiate the bomb hover, and then shield drop a third bomb, and the very moment it explodes we take out our sword, we'll actually clip through the boss door and we don't need the boss key. Oh man, and now we get to talk about one of the most hilarious ways to use ISG, the Cucco dive. Okay, so let's say you don't have the Song of Storms, but you need to get inside the well. There's a way to do this with ISG. So we're gonna activate ISG off of one of the signs in Kakariko Village, and then we're gonna carefully pick up a Cucco. Don't go too fast because the ISG will start hitting the Cucco and you don't want to initiate the Cucco storm. However, if you manage to pick up the Cucco, you'll notice you're now giving it death by 1,000 cuts. And we can use this to our advantage. If we position Link's back to the front of the well, shield drop the Cucco and immediately backflip, the Cucco storm cutscene will play. And when a cutscene is active, for some reason water physics just aren't a thing. So this will cause Link to sink to the bottom of the well, and then we can just swim to the entrance. This next one might seem a little obvious, but of course we can use ISG to one-cycle bosses. So with Bongo here, I can activate ISG using the enemy ISG method, And then, once I stun both of his hands and he flies into me, I can just stand next to his eyeball and we'll one-cycle him. Okay, let's talk about jump storage. This is a neat little strat that allows Link to jump up in the air and grab ledges he normally wouldn't be able to reach. We do this with bombs. It is possible to do with Bombchus, but I recommend just sticking with bombs. So what we do is shield drop a bomb, tap A, backflip, let go and repress shield, and then mash the A button. If done right, Link will be stuck in his shield animation right in front of the bomb, and once it explodes, we'll have jump storage activated. Then we can walk over to a ledge, press Z, and down A. Instead of doing a backflip, Link will do a jump up into the air, and we can grab ledges we wouldn't normally be able to reach. What we're basically doing here is making the game think that Link is picking up the bomb, because once you're close enough to an object that Link can pick up, the A button will say grab. So essentially we're using this mechanic to make the game think that Link is carrying something even though he isn't, and we can freely walk around while in this state. This allows us to jump. As I said, this can be used in a lot of different areas. For example, in the fire temple, in the first room where the bridge is, on the right side of the dungeon there's a bombable door that leads to a trapped Goron. The ledge to get up there is too high for young Link to reach. However, if we activate jump storage, we can climb on up and go free that Goron as young Link. Another great spot for jump storage is in the Sacred Meadow as adult Link. If we activate jump storage at the entrance, we can walk up to the first ledge of the maze and climb up. Now we can avoid the entire maze, all the moblins, and head straight over to the Forest Temple. Alright, let's talk about various ways we can clip through walls. You see, in my opinion, walls are merely suggestions in Ocarina of Time. One of my favorite ways to clip through walls is as young Link. We're gonna do a little trick called vine clipping. You see, if young Link is on a climbable wall, he can actually clip through it using an explosion. So, if you notice, if I hold Z target while climbing something, and then I tap A, I can press shield while falling and then immediately hold forward and re-grab the vine. Basically, climb up high enough, press down A, shield, and immediately forward. If you notice, for a split second, Link will use his shield and then we can re-grab the climbable surface. If we add one more step to this, we can clip through any climbable surface. So what you do is you climb high enough up, Z target, press down A, take out a Bombchu, press shield and immediately press forward. If done right, the explosion will knock Link through whatever climbable surface he's on. This basically breaks the Gerudo training ground. We can get through the entire locked door section without a single key as long as we have Bombchus. Another spot where I love to do this vine clip is in the Forest Temple. You see, if we climb those vines where the 3 Skulltulas are placed, we can actually clip straight into the boss room as young Link. Now, another interesting thing we can do as young Link is walk over to the diving house in Lake Hylia, and if we position Link just right in this corner, we can do a 180 turn and backflip through the wall of this house. And if you notice, there's a hole in the floor here that will allow us to jump into the lake under the map. Because in this game, the water hitbox goes downwards indefinitely. And since the dive house is on an elevated surface, we're beneath the map but still in water. We can use this strat to get into the water temple. If we swim just out of the water's hitbox, Link will fall straight down, and all you have to do is make Link fall back into the water hitbox before voiding out. And if we make Link fall down low enough, we can get him to swim to the water temple load zone and we can do the temple as young Link. Now we're going to talk about one of the most useful strats in Ocarina of Time, and that is ledge clipping. You see, this game has a unique property when Link grabs a ledge. If you're holding Z target, And right as you fall off a ledge, you let go of Z and repress Z the very first frame that Link grabs the ledge. He'll actually clip through the wall that he's grabbing onto, and we can use this to make Link go out of bounds in all sorts of areas. For example, here at Lake Hylia, since the water level is lower as adult Link, we can actually ledge clip right next to the Zora's Domain shortcut. We can actually use this to get out of bounds and swim towards the Water Temple load zone. No hookshot needed. Now you're probably asking, well, how are you even gonna do the Water Temple with no iron boots? Well, we're gonna ledge clip. So if we head over to the platform that has the Zelda's Lullaby sign that makes the water reach its highest level, we can ledge clip right here and swim out of bounds to the other side of the temple. And if we fall just right, we can land in the hallway where Princess Gerudo is waiting for us. We can then rise our way to the top and reach the next Zelda's Lullaby sign that is used to lower the water level all the way to the bottom. Oh, you don't have the Song of Time? Well, did you know you can ledge clip through time blocks? Check this out. In the Forest Temple, there's a time block in the very first room, and we can actually ledge clip through this block and walk straight through the door. Now, this is probably the most commonly known ledge clip, and it's a little bit different. In the main room of the Forest Temple, if we head over to the door that leads to those two Stalfos we have to fight, we can actually position Link into the corner of this handrail here. Take out the hookshot, hold Z target, backflip, mash the hookshot button, and we'll be standing on the other side of the rail. If we then let go of Z, repress Z, and walk to the left ever so slightly, Link will grab the ledge and will clip through the wall. We can use this to reach Phantom Ganon as adult Link without doing the Forest Temple at all. We can get into the Gerudo training grounds without the membership card. If we do a ledge clip on the platform that's directly above the only guard that's actually on the fortress, we can get out of bounds and make our way into the Gerudo training grounds. So we're gonna hit a ledge clip on the very edge of the platform, do 2 side hops to the right, and then we're gonna do something called an ESS turn. So one of the most common questions I get is, what is an ESS turn? Well, if you notice, when you barely move the analog stick, rather than taking a step, Link will start spinning in a circle. This is called ESS turning. A single ESS turn is making Link spin 1 frame to the left or right. You wanna make him do 1 little tiny spin the exact length of 1 frame. So if someone says, do 2 ESS turns, that means you're gonna move Link 2 frames to whichever direction they say. Once again, we're gonna ledge clip right here, do 2 side hops to the right, and then do 2 ESS turns to the right. We're gonna make Link turn 180 degrees. The easiest way to do this is press shield, hold down on the analog stick. This will make Link look up with the shield. Then we're gonna let go of shield and the analog stick. And if we did this right, Link will have done a 180 turn without changing his position whatsoever. From here, we could just back walk off of the ledge and hit the load zone to the Gerudo training grounds. There's even ways to clip through walls using a jump slash. One of my favorites is getting inside the well as adult Link. So if we long shot into the windmill during the day, there's a Cucco up there. If we equip the hover boots and grab the Cucco, we can run off the ledge and do a 180 turn and fly the Cucco over to the fence that prevents us from going out of bounds. Once we're directly above the fence, we can jump slash and hold forward. This will make Link clip through the fence, then we can turn around and pick up the Cucco and walk around with it out of bounds. If we position ourselves just right, we can back walk off of the ground and then fly the Cucco into the load zone of the well. And I know what you're gonna say, oh, now Link's gotta squeeze through this little hole. You can't go through the well as adult Link. Well, keyboard warriors, there's this thing called randomized entrances. So maybe the well has something very important inside of it, like Ganon's castle. or a dungeon, something that may house an item you need to complete your randomizer and you have no way to get through other than getting out of bounds and flying into the load zone. Sometimes a jump slash doesn't give us quite enough distance to clip through something. Well, we can do something called Lunge Storage, which will give Link just a little extra push. So if you look right here, Link does 2 jump slashes, and every time he does a jump slash, he is very stationary when he lands. Well, if you position Link to the very edge of a ledge and press up B, Link will fall down, but the game still thinks you activated a jump slash. So the next time you do a jump slash, the game gives Link a little extra push. If you look right here, now when I do a jump slash, Link will do a little slide. This is called Lunge Storage. This can be used in a bunch of different places, but the most popular place is probably the Temple of Time. That's right, we're learning the dot skip. So if we head over to the back side of the stone pillar, we can crouch stab the wall, jump slash and hold shield. This will position Link on the very edge of the pillar. Then we press up B and we'll store a lunge. This now sets us up to clip through the door of time without getting the spiritual stones. Before we go over the dot skip, we're going to talk about something called setups. You see, Ocarina of Time is very unique in the sense that it's entirely possible to 100% replicate somebody else's movements. If you play a game like Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, it's impossible to completely recreate somebody's movements because everything is so sporadic and free. Ocarina of Time is like a blend between tank controls and the traditional free Z-axis movement that we know and love today. This is why you'll see certain glitches have like 32 steps to pull off, because really all you're doing is getting Link into the position he needs to be in to pull the glitch off. That's why we talk about things like ESS turns or do a neutral roll or a side hop here, because the entire goal is to put Link into a certain position to get him through a certain area. And the thing about this game is it's very strict in the positioning to pull some of these glitches off. However, it's also extremely easy to replicate the position if you know a setup to pull it off. Now, if you've looked up glitches on YouTube before, you've probably seen these weird numbers on their screen and have no idea what they mean. Well, these numbers are called watches, and what they do is give us information on certain things, such as Link's x-axis, y-axis, z-axis, the camera's angle, certain enemies' positions, how fast Link is actually moving. This is how we determine whether or not a setup has been done correctly. So before I pull off the dot skip, I'm gonna pull up some watches so we can see exactly what position Link is in and why we do these setups in the first place. I'm gonna pull up Link's X, Y, and Z coordinates and also the camera angle coordinates. This will allow us to see exactly what position we need to be in order to pull off the dot skip. Now, I don't want you to get intimidated when we go over all these steps here, because honestly, setup glitches are the easiest glitches to pull off because there's a clear set of instructions on how to pull it off. Some glitches is all about timing and being frame perfect. However, with setup glitches, as long as you do the setup correctly, you will get the glitch 100% of the time. Now, if you look here, I have Link in a very specific position. His X coordinate is -67.6519, his Y coordinate is 0, his Z coordinate is 1156.68, and the camera angle is 38,503. I know it sounds like a complicated math problem, but if your coordinates match this and you have lunge storage, then you will 100% clip through the door when you jump slash right here. So how do we get these coordinates to line up? It's actually not as crazy as you think. So the first thing we're gonna do is set up lunge storage by crouch stabbing the back of the stone pillar, jump slash, and hold shield. Then we're gonna press up B, which will make the game think we did a jump slash even though we didn't. So now we have lunge storage. Now we can put our sword away. We're gonna walk up to the door of time, hold Z target. We're gonna side hop left, tap A, let go of Z, and repress Z. If we continue to hold Z when we tap A, the camera angle will stay locked in place. This is why we need to let go of Z, because it'll make the camera angle now match where Link's position is after he does the roll. So one more time, we're gonna side hop left, tap A, let go of Z, and repress Z. Then we're gonna continue to hold Z, side hop right, tap A, side hop right, side hop left, and then tap A. Then we're gonna do one ESS turn to the right. Now, if you remember, an ESS turn is when you barely move the analog stick. It causes Link to spin in one direction or the other. Our goal is to make Link spin for 1 frame. And if you notice, my coordinates are now -67.6519, 0, 1156.68, and 38,503. This puts us in the exact position that I showed you earlier. So now, all I have to do is press B and shield immediately. This will cancel your swing, because if you swing your sword, you're gonna lose lunge storage. So you're gonna do something called a shield cancel, where you press B and immediately press shield. This prioritizes the shield animation versus the sword animation. Then we're just gonna Z target and press A, and we'll go straight through the door. No spiritual stones needed. We can also use lunge storage to clip through the gate in Kakariko Village if we don't have Zelda's letter. So if we get to the edge of these stairs, we can now press the stick button and up at the same time, and we'll still activate lunge storage. Then we can have Link head over to this sign here, crouch stab the sign with the stick, throw the rock if it's there. Then we're gonna position Link right in front of the gate, Z target, and sidewalk as far right as he can go. Then we're gonna backflip, tap A, and tap A. Then side hop right twice, side hop left twice, tap A, let go of Z, and repress Z as fast as you can, because if you're too slow, you're gonna lock onto the guard. Then we're gonna do what's called a shield crouch. This is where we press shield, hold forward, let go of shield, and repress shield. Our goal is to make Link do 1 step forward, but keep the position we're in. Then we're gonna take our stick out, press C up, hold Z. This will prevent us from locking onto the guard. Press C up one more time, and now we're in the Z target animation without locking onto the guard. From here, we're gonna hit pause and then unpause, and on the very first frame you're allowed to, you're gonna tap A. If done right, you'll jump slash rather than talk to the guard. And if you have lunge storage active, you'll clip right through the gate. There's a really simple and fun clip in the Shadow Temple. If we go into the room with the spinning scythes that's closest to the entrance of the temple, there's a room that allows us to have a shortcut to the boat. Assuming we've made it there already and pulled the block out, this will allow us to go back and forth to the boat without having to do the entire temple all over again. However, we can clip through this fence without needing to move the block. So if we position Link to the far right side of the room, face the wall, and Z target, we're gonna side hop left 3 times, continue to hold Z target, swing our sword, press shield, swing our sword, press shield, and swing our sword. Then we're just gonna jump slash, and if we did this right, we'll clip right through the fence. All you gotta do is tap A and you've made it to the boat. You can clip past the spike wall if you don't have Din's fire. If you run over to the wall the second you enter the room and swing your sword, you'll wake up the Gibdo and it'll freeze you. This will cause Link to clip through the wall. We can take out the Gibdo and open the boss chest. So a lot of people know what the Navi dive is, but the problem with Navi glitches is you only get 1 shot, and if you mess it up, you now have to wait for the Navi timer to reset. This is why I prefer using the YOLO escape when leaving the forest. So in the room right before the Zora's River shortcut, we have the Goron City shortcut. So the hallway that enters the room that has the Goron City shortcut, we can make Link parallel to the wall of that hallway. Then we can side hop and be directly in front of the entrance to the Zora's River shortcut. From here, we're gonna run forward at a slight angle to the left, and right before we make it all the way through the hallway, we're gonna roll. This will cause the camera angle to shift to the left just a little bit. From this point, we're gonna run all the way to the back of the room behind the Zora's River shortcut, sidewalk Link to the left until he's walking into the corner. Then we're gonna backflip, take out a stick, and then side hop right and jump slash when Link is parallel with the very corner of the cement slab. This can also be done with a sword, but more commonly than not, if you're doing a true no logic randomizer, you probably don't have the sword. So I don't know if this counts as clipping, but we can get into Zora's domain as young Link without Zelda's Lullaby. If we grab a Cucco and head all the way to the waterfall, you'll notice you can actually see behind the waterfall, almost as if it's a wall in front of a wall and not an entire solid thing. As a matter of fact, when Link jumps, he can jump behind the waterfall. So if we take a Cucco and do that same jump, we'll just float behind the waterfall and land into Zora's domain. Once inside of Zora's domain, we can do a jump slash to get around him without having Gerudo's letter. If we position ourselves on this shadowy area right at the edge of the staircase, we can side hop left, tap A, let go of Z and repress Z, do one ESS turn to the left, take out a stick, set it on fire, run up the ramp to the right here, get into the very corner in the back, side hop right twice, backflip, and side hop left. Then, right as the stick is about to burn out, you walk off the side of the ledge and jump slash into the corner. This will cause Link to clip through the wall and we can just swim around King Zora. Now, if you don't move King Zora as young Link and you become adult Link, he will still be in the same spot you left him in as young Link, which means you can't get through him to get to the ice cavern to get the blue fire to melt him. However, we don't need him to move. We can just jump slash this corner right here as adult Link and clip through the wall and do the same thing we just did as young Link. There's a million clips you can do in Zora's domain. If you aim the hook shot at the second step from the ladder at the top, we can actually clip through the wall right here and get out of bounds. This will allow us to run towards the Lake Hylia shortcut. Then we can jump into the water that's out of bounds, swim to the edge of it, and make Link fall just low enough to be under the Lake Hylia shortcut. Then we can swim back inbounds directly underneath the load zone to the Lake Hylia shortcut and make our way over to Lake Hylia. In the Fire Temple, we can clip through the statue blocking the locked door that leads to the boss key room. Position Link to the side of the statue, side hop left, tap A, and let go of Z. Then crouch stab the corner twice, Z target, and mash the A button. If done right, we'll clip right behind the statue and open the locked door. You never found strength? Well, we can clip through the statue in Darunia's room. If we take the hook shot out and cancel it so it's still in our hand, we can then position Link to the left side of the statue, Z target, and walk him all the way into the statue. Then we're gonna side hop right, side hop left, and side hop right. And right as Link makes it right in front of the statue, you're gonna press hookshot. If done right, you'll have actually clipped the hookshot through the statue. Then we can just aim down to the floor, fire the hookshot, and it'll take us right through the statue. Let's say you don't have any explosives or strength, but you want to get inside Dodongos Cavern. If we head over to the area that has the bomb flower we're intended to use to get into Dodongos Cavern, we can walk to the far left here at the very edge of the fence, Z target and sidewalk Link into the side of the fence here. Then we're going to side hop right 3 times, tap A, let go of Z and repress Z, backflip, side hop right, backflip, side hop right. Then we're gonna let go of Z, take out our sword, swing it 3 times, and then backflip. If done right, you'll actually clip through the giant boulder in front of Dodongos Cavern. Let's talk about mega flips. Now, in my experience, a lot of people are intimidated by mega flips, claiming that they're very difficult to pull off, when in actuality, it's all about timing. I'd say if you're struggling to do mega flips, odds are you don't fully understand the timing of bombs and Bombchus, and that's okay, it just takes a lot of practice. So to pull off a Bombchu mega flip, you're going to want to wait for the Bombchu to flash red 7 times. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, you'll notice the Bombchu flashes bright red, gets slightly dimmer until it's completely black. We want to shield drop the Bombchu right before the 8th red flash when it's completely black on the 7th flash, continue holding shield, and backflip. If done right, the explosion will give Link just enough momentum to do a super flip, or a mega flip. A good way to practice mega flips is using Nayrus Love, because not only does Nayrus Love make you invincible, it also prevents you from taking knockback damage, which gives you a few more frames to hit the mega flip than doing it without it. But as I said, you really just need to time the explosion of the Bombchu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and right before the 8th flash, shield drop, backflip while continue holding shield. Now we can also do mega flips with bombs, but the timing is a little different. You'll see a lot of people describe the frames of the bombs and what color it is, and I think all of that is so confusing and convoluted. Honestly, just look at Link's feet. So we're gonna hold Z target the entire time, shield drop a bomb, tap A, backflip, and while mid-flip, we're gonna hold shield. Once Link lands, you're gonna notice he shuffles his feet. There are different variations of his feet shuffle, but most of the time he'll go in, out, in, out. So the timing of the bomb explosion is to shield drop the bomb, backflip and press shield, and once he lands, he's gonna go in, out, in, and then right as he starts going back out, you're gonna tap A and then backflip. The bomb should explode around the same time you tap A, so if you did this right, all you have to do is hit a backflip right as the bomb explodes. Once again, you can also use Nayrus Love to practice this. It's very useful because it prevents knockback and it allows you a few more frames of grace, and it's great to practice these mega flips. Or if you're just struggling with them and you happen to have Nayrus Love, it's just great to have the extra tool. So super slides are basically abusing the game's momentum mechanics to make Link fly at amazing speeds to make us reach places we normally wouldn't be able to get to. There are several things that can cause momentum to happen in this game, and depending on what you use to make it happen depends on how far you go with the super slide. For example, here in the Water Temple, we can skip the entire dungeon entirely by using the Megaton Hammer. If we swing the Megaton Hammer at a wall and pause on the very first frame of recoil, then equip the hover boots, we can super slide all the way over to the ledge that we normally need the long shot to reach. We can do the same thing with the broken bridge in Gerudo Valley. If we line ourselves right up to this brick wall here and do the same thing with the Megaton Hammer where we swing and pause on the very first frame of recoil, we could super slide all the way to the other side. So the Megaton Hammer is not the only way to create momentum. We can also create momentum with Link's sword. However, we don't go as far when we use the sword. This is sometimes the better option though. For example, you remember how we talked about the dot skip as young Link? Well, the thing is, if we've never opened the door of time, once we become adult Link, the door of time remains closed. So if we need to go back to being young Link again, we have to dot skip as adult Link, and he's unfortunately too big to use the method we used as young Link. So if we line ourselves up to the very edge of the second square to the right, we can then do a shield turn to turn 90 degrees to the right and crouch stab the wall. If we pause at the right time being when the sparks turn green. You see, the very first frame of sparks are blue, then green, and then a yellowish color, so we want to pause right when they turn green. From here, we can equip the hover boots, hold right on the analog stick, unpause, and the very first frame Link clips through the door, we hit pause, press down, and then unpause, and right when Link starts moving up, we hold left on the analog stick. You see, when abusing momentum with the hover boots, Link goes the opposite direction that you are holding. So if you hold down, he's gonna move up. Now there's one other way to build momentum in Ocarina of Time, and that's with explosions. This is how we travel the greatest distance with a super slide. So we're gonna hold Z target the entire time, shield drop a bomb, tap A, backflip, press shield as we're mid-flip. You're gonna notice his feet shuffle. Just like we talked about with the Mega Flip, he's gonna go in, out, in, out. We wanna tap A right as he's about to go out for the second time. So in, out, in, and right as he's going out, we're gonna mash the A button. See, with the Mega Flip, we would do a backflip here, but with a super slide, we're trying to trick the game into thinking we're picking up the bomb, just like with jump storage. The difference is we're mashing the A button right as the bomb explodes, and with jump storage, we're doing it before the bomb explodes. So once again, we're gonna shield drop a bomb, tap A, backflip, hold shield while in mid-air, then he's gonna shuffle his legs in, out, in, and right as he's shuffling out for the second time, we're gonna mash the A button. If done right, you should hit the grab action the very second the bomb explodes, causing Link to do a super slide. And this super slide lasts indefinitely as long as you continue to hold shield. The only thing though is that you cannot control the direction Link goes in, so whatever direction the super slide is initiated in is the direction you're gonna go. So at this point, you're probably wondering what else could there possibly be in a randomizer to help you progress, because we've talked about ISG, jump storage, mega flips, super slides, clipping through walls. What else could there possibly be? Now we're going to talk about deloading. You see, there's a lot of things you can do in Ocarina of Time to cause either an enemy, the area, objects around you to deload so you can walk through them as if they weren't even there. Well, there's a lot of things in this game, such as water, enemies, NPCs, walls, even entire areas of a map that we can deload so we can walk through them as if they weren't even there. For example, here in the Water Temple, if we stand on the very edge of this pillar and use Din's Fire right as the spider hits Link, he'll move forward one frame, causing him to fall straight down into the water, kind of like we're doing a Navi dive. This will allow us to swim to the room that Gerudo is in and float all the way to the top so we can play Zelda's Lullaby and lower the water. No iron boots needed. Okay, so this next one is a little tedious, but it's not hard. If we head over to the warp zone for the Shadow Temple, we can go down the stairs and run up. If you notice, the graveyard deloads when we run down the stairs just enough, and then when we run back up, they load back in. We're gonna make Link run up and down the stairs, causing the graveyard to deload and reload multiple times. Now, I'm gonna be honest, you're gonna have to do this like 40, maybe 50 times. It's really tedious. But if you need to get into the Sun Song Grave or get the hookshot as young Link, this is your way to do it. So if you notice, after we've deloaded and reloaded the map as many times as required, we can climb onto the fence here, take a look around, and you'll notice all of the graves have deloaded, and the little patch of land that is covering Dampy's grave has also deloaded. So now we can run into any one of these graves that we need. However, as soon as you go down, you're gonna have to deload everything all over again if you want to go into the other ones. So choose wisely. Now let's get into the Haunted Wasteland without the membership card. If you remember when I showed you where to ledge clip to get into the Gerudo training grounds, we're gonna go back to that same pillar. Normally, we can't get into the archery range without the membership card because there's a guard standing right there who will catch us every time we run past her. If we hug the wall next to the vines here and Z target and slowly walk to the right into this patch of dirt here, once Link's body is halfway across the right side, we can actually roll forward and he'll jump past the guard's line of sight. This will allow us to walk into the archery range before getting the membership card. Once we get to the top of the ramp on the right side, there's a wall connected to another wall that creates a corner. We call these seams, and the cool thing about seams is we can do a little trick called seam walking. So what you do is line Link up perfectly center to the corner, hold Z target, and then slowly walk forward. You don't want to do a full run because you'll fall off the seam, but if you do a slow push forward, you'll actually walk up the seam and get into areas that you're normally not supposed to get to. In this case, once we make it to the top of the wall here, we can walk to the edge of the right side here, face the wall, Z target, and if we're close enough to the ledge, when we side hop right, we'll actually catch the wall and be stuck in between out of bounds and inbounds, and Link will start sliding. However, he's gonna slide past the load zone, so the fortress and all the guards will never have loaded, but the floor is still solid. Conveniently enough, the gate blocking the haunted wasteland has also been deloaded and is no longer a factor. So now we can just walk to the haunted wasteland with nothing in our way. You remember when I told you if you clip through Zora's domain as young Link and never move King Zora, when you become adult Link, he'll still be there? So let's say we want to get the item check from King Zora, but we don't have a bottle or access to blue fire. Well, we can actually deload the red ice around him and totally bypass the need for blue fire at all. So what we're going to do is head over to the little staircase where we normally would talk to King Zora, and then we're going to run down the hallway until the king deloads. Then we're going to hug the wall on the right side, Z target, side hop all the way to the very top of the stairs, but not going all the way into the throne room. Then we're going to slowly sidewalk to the left until we can just barely read the sign. Then we're going to read the sign, run back down the stairs until the king deloads, run back up the stairs, and if we did this right, the red ice will have deloaded and we can talk to King Zora and get the item check. Well, now we've reached one of my favorite types of glitches, and that's the hookshot jump. See, there's a lot of different ways to do the hookshot jump, and some are more complicated than others, so I'm going to get into the most basic form of hookshot jumps. And if you'd like me to go over the more complex ways to do hookshot jumps, let me know in the comments, because honestly, I'm trying to help out a lot of people who don't really know a lot about randomizers or just dipping their toe in the water for the first time, and I don't want to scare you guys off. However, there are some cool hookshot jumps that can be done that take a little bit more effort. But let's get into the most famous hookshot jump, and that is getting into the Shadow Temple. So we're gonna get ourselves into the corner behind Dampy's hut. We're gonna face the fence, take out the hookshot, and press shield. This will keep the hookshot in your hands but allow Link to free walk. Then we're gonna turn Link 90 degrees to the right, and from here we're gonna side hop right, press forward, and mash A. If we did this right, we'll cause Link to bonk into the wall. The bonk is the key to getting a hookshot jump. One more time, we're gonna line Link up to the fence, turn right 90 degrees, side hop to the right, hold forward, mash A, cause Link to bonk, and right as he bonks, we're gonna mash the hookshot button. If done right, we're gonna put Link into this weird state where he's in third person but can't move, and then the hookshot reticle appears and disappears periodically. Our goal is to hit hookshot the very first frame the reticle appears. The first time you're gonna hear the hookshot get prepped, and then the next time you hit hookshot, ideally you're gonna hit Dampy's hut and it's gonna send Link flying into the air. So I'd like to reiterate, this can be done in a lot of different places, but the angle of Link's position is very important, and it must be done on a surface where the hookshot can actually be used. Dampy's hut, for example, you can hookshot and cause Link to fly into it. So one more time, we're gonna face the fence, turn 90 degrees to the right, side hop right, tap A, hold forward, bonk, mash the hookshot button, put Link into this weird third person state, hit the hookshot button the very first frame the reticle appears, and then do it again. This will cause Link to go flying into the air. You hold back onto the analog stick just a little bit, and we're gonna land on the very edge of the wall facing out of bounds and inbounds. From here, we're gonna wanna get ISG because the walk to the Shadow Temple is impossible without ISG. Because remember, ISG prevents you from falling off of ledges. The most common way to get ISG up here is with the Poe. You use enemy ISG on the Poe, and then we can continue our walk. However, if you don't like enemy ISG, you can use bomb ISG up here if you have them. So the first part is pretty straightforward, you just run straight, but it's when we get to our first turn up here, this area you can get stuck very easily because ISG prevents you from falling off of ledges, but it also has an unwanted side effect of getting Link stuck in spots he's not supposed to be. So I recommend slowly moving Link down and up as you walk across this little patch of land here. You don't want to do any full presses or make him just run straight because it's very easy to get stuck here. So we just make Link shimmy up and down until we get across to the next turn, and it's basically smooth sailing from here. You just run straight through. You can get stuck on this next turn here, but it's very easy to just backflip and you'll stay on this piece of land. It's that first turn where if you get stuck and cancel ISG, you're gonna fall. Then, once we line ourselves up with the Shadow Temple, we're gonna hold Z target, side hop, and we're gonna land above the staircase and slide down, skipping the load zone entirely. This will deload the Shadow Temple door, allowing us to get inside. And finally, we're going to talk about one of the most simple but useful glitches in an Ocarina of Time no logic randomizer. And that is Ocarina items. So if you randomize the Ocarina drops, you could go the entire playthrough without having an Ocarina, and that could get you stuck in a lot of places because you'll unlock songs, but you can't use them if you don't have the Ocarina, right? Wrong. So, there's certain items in the game where we can manipulate the game's code into thinking it's an ocarina. We do this with the bottle. You may or may not know this, but the bottle is God in Ocarina of Time. You can literally pull items out of thin air with a bottle if you really know what to do. However, we're going to talk about how to make an ocarina up here out of thin air. So we're going to get either a fish or some bugs. Either one is perfectly acceptable, one is not better than the other. So what we're going to do is drop the bugs and pick them back up. When we do this, the bottle remains in Link's hand. From here, we're gonna Z target, backflip, hit the bottle, and then press B. This will cause Link to start playing his sword like it's an ocarina. Okay, but what if we don't have the sword? You could do it with a stick. Backflip and use a stick. You ever wanted to see Link use a bomb as a hat? Well, here you go. You can use bombs as an ocarina as well. You could play the boomerang if you want to. It's a very simple glitch that is super effective and any beginner can pull this off. Well, that was a lot, but I hope things have become a lot more clear on how these glitches actually work. I want everybody to be able to enjoy this game to its full potential, and let's be honest, the game's over 20 years old. We've all seen it, we've all done it. No logic randomizers are just a great way to breathe new life into this game. I'll be scrolling through TikTok and I'll see someone doing their first no logic rando and teach them how to bomb hover or even just get ISG, and the look on their face of just sheer amazement and happiness just brings life into me. Honestly, I want to spread this information as far as it can go because this game is truly one of the greatest games ever. I have a lot of fond memories of my childhood from Ocarina of Time. You know, I've been here since the very beginning of this game and I plan to be here every day after. I hope this video has brought you a newfound confidence towards no logic randomizers and you were willing to give your first one a go, or maybe even up the ante on the no logic randomizers you've already done, because there are some crazy ways to customize a randomizer, trust me. I want to thank you guys so much for all the love and support I've been given this year. We're almost at 1,000 subs. At the time of this recording, we're at 894 subscribers. I feel so blessed. I'm honestly in disbelief every time I think about the fact that I'm actually building a community of Ocarina of Time lovers. You guys are truly making my dreams come true one view at a time, and I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to keep supporting this channel and see it grow to new heights, hit that thumbs up button, hit the sub button, and click on that notification bell. Maybe even leave me a comment on what glitch I should show you next. And don't you ever forget, I'm Nick the Old Soul, and I'm going to make you a pro at Zelda Ocarina of Time no logic randomizers. I'll see you in the next video.